In September 1996, Owerri, the capital of Imo State, became the stage of one of Nigeria's darkest and most terrifying stories, a tale so horrifying that the city had never truly recovered from it. For years, the people of Owerri had whispered about sudden wealth, young men with no jobs building mansions, hotels springed up overnight, businessmen who seemed to worship nothing but money. The whispers were always the same: money rituals, children missing, bodies turning up without heads or organs. Nobody spoke too loudly because the men at the center of these rumors were powerful, connected, and untouchable. But all of that changed on September 19th, when an 11-year-old boy named Anthony Ikechukwu Okoroko disappeared while hawking granules along Douglas Road. He was just a child, innocent, barefoot, carrying his tray through the streets to help his family. Anthony Ikechukwu Okoroko was only 11 years old, small for his age, with the weary frame of a child who had known hunger too often. His mother sent him out that day with a tray of granules balanced on his head. It was the life of many children in Owerri, hawking on Douglas Road, calling out, "Granite, granite," hoping for coins that would buy food for the night. He never complained. His friends remembered him as a cheerful, always running barefoot, always quick with a smile. But on that September afternoon in 1996, his path crossed the predators who had been watching him. As he passed near Otokoto Hotel, the sinister mansion-like building with dark glass windows and gates too tall for a child to see through, a black Mercedes-Benz slewed behind him. To Anthony, that car was a symbol of wealth and success. The man inside waved him closer. It was Chief Vincent Duru's men, already scouting for the next victim. The gardener, Innocent Ekanyamu, called out to him, pretending to want granules. Anthony hesitated. Everyone in Owerri knew the hotel had a bad reputation, but he was just a boy, and money was money. He stepped closer, tray still balanced, and that moment sealed his fate. They told him to get into the car. "We'll buy everything, just come in." He resisted at first, but children are trusting, and hunger weakens the spirit. The promise of money, the chance to go home early with an empty tray, and a pocket full of coins was irresistible. Anthony climbed in, the heavy Mercedes door shutting with a thud that cut him off from the world outside. Witnesses saw him ride away, and no one imagined that would be the last time he was seen alive. Inside the hotel compound, Innocent led the boy away quickly. The Otokoto men had been given an order. A fresh human head was needed. Anthony was the chosen sacrifice. They gave him food, a drink to calm him, or perhaps to drug him, then dragged him into a room that reeked of old blood. There was no escape. The boy cried, screamed, begged for his mother, but the walls of the Otokoto Hotel had heard such screams before, and they swallowed his voice whole. Anthony was pinned down on the cold floor, struggling as his small chest rose and fell rapidly in terror. A machete was raised, its blades glinting in the dim light. With one swift, brutal swing, his young life was cut short. His head severed from his body in a spray of blood that painted the floor and walls. His body convulsed for moments, twitching in a grotesque parody of life before lying still. They wrapped his head carefully as though it were an item of value, not the face of a child. His organs were carved out with practiced hands, taken for rituals. The little boy, who only wanted to sell granules, had been reduced to parts, currency for power and wealth. But the men made a mistake. In their arrogance, they trusted Innocent to deliver Anthony's head to the ritualist who had requested it. He carried the grisly bundle, moving through the street, but perhaps guilt or panic betrayed him. He was caught. When the police detained him and forced the truth out of him, the confession spilled like rotten water. He admitted that the boy was killed inside Otokoto Hotel, that it was not their first sacrifice, and that many powerful men were involved. When news broke, Owerri trembled. Parents clutched their children in horror. So imagine Anthony's last moments, the false kindness, the promise of money, the betrayal, the machete slicing through innocence was too much. And when the boy's head was displayed, the people's fear turned into madness. Otokoto Hotel was set ablaze, its walls collapsing in smoke and fire, as if the town itself wanted to erase the place from where children's blood had soaked the floor. After Anthony was slaughtered, the killers thought it would be just another routine sacrifice. The Otokoto group had been feeding the hunger of the ritualist market for years. Children disappearing, traders missing, boys lured with the promises of jobs, girls vanished from the roadside. The hotel was a fortress of death. The ground beneath it had drunk too much blood. But Anthony's case went wrong, not because the killer suddenly grew careless, but because of what happened to the man entrusted with the child's head, Innocent Ikanyao. Innocent was no stranger to blood. He had worked as Duru's gardener and errand boy, often called to assist with deliveries that reeked of death. But carrying Anthony's head weighed differently on him. Some said he had nightmares immediately, that he claimed the boy's spirit followed him. Others whispered he was jittery because the deal for the dead wasn't going smoothly. The ritualist who ordered a delayed payment, leaving Innocent wandering the city, the bundle. That was his undoing. When the police intercepted him, the package was opened, and Anthony's wide-eyed, severed head stared back at them, lips parted as if frozen in his last cry. That single sight cracked open the dam of secrets. Innocent confessed quickly, naming the Otokoto Hotel and his employer, Chief Duru. But here is where things turned darker. Innocent himself never lived to face trial. Days after his arrest, while under heavy police guard, he died mysteriously in custody. The official reports claimed he suffered food poisoning after eating a poisoned meal, but no one believed it. How could a man central to the biggest ritual murder case Nigeria had seen in decades die so conveniently? The people whispered that he was silenced, poisoned deliberately to keep him from naming more powerful men. Names that reached far beyond Owerri. Names of politicians, businessmen, men who walked freely in daylight while children were buried in secret. But there was more. The day Anthony was taken, some said he was not the only child lured. Rumors spread that two other boys hawking fruit nearby were also invited towards the car but managed to escape when Anthony hesitated too long. Those boys, terrified, ran home and told their parents, but nobody believed them at first. Who would dare accuse men of such wealth? It was only after Anthony's head was found that their stories resurfaced. Like echoes of near death, those boys lived, but their eyes carried the trauma of what they almost shared. And then, the deepest fear of all, when investigators stormed the Otokoto Hotel after the riots, they found underground chambers, crude altars, and chains fixed to the walls. Not all the remains they discovered were recognizable. Skulls, bones, scraps of clothing, evidence of more children whose names will never be known. Official reports watered this down, but the locals who entered before police sealed it swore they saw things too horrible to describe. One old man said he saw a pile of skulls stacked like coconuts, some still fresh with skin clinging. Another said the ground beneath the hotel smelled of rotten flesh, even after the fire burned it down. Anthony's killing was a crack in the wall, but the full structure of horror stretched back years. Children went missing long before 1996, but poverty and silence made their stories vanish. His case only blew open because his severed head, carried clumsily through the streets, became undeniable proof. That is why the riots were so violent, so merciless. It was not just anger for Anthony, it was revenge for all the children swallowed by Otokoto's darkness. Even today, Owerri elders swear that the land where the hotel once stood remains cursed. Traders avoid setting up there, and builders whisper of strange happenings when foundations are dug. Some say Anthony's restless spirit still roams. His small voice crying, "Mama, Mama," at night, as if calling for the woman he never saw again. Others say innocent himself, silenced with poison, lingers in shadows, muttering the names he never revealed. The powerful men whose hands were never stained in court, but were soaked in spirit. If you'd like us to bring you more shocking true life stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on your notification bell to be notified anytime we drop our new stories. What do you think must have killed Innocent? Was it poison or something more darker than one could ever imagine? Please drop your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks, and we hope to see you again. Bye for now.